Zilliqa has had a 40% crash in the last 16 days. Is this going to continue, or are we going to start seeing a recovery? In this video, we're going to dive into some brief technical analysis on Zilliqa. We're going to take a look at the daily and the hourly chart to see what is going on right now with this project. Are we looking to fall down any lower, or are we actually going to start a recovery anytime soon? As we get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you're happy to be new to the channel, then do subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything we do here. Right, with all that out of the way, let's dive down into this daily chart and talk about what is going on most recently with ZIL. Here we can see that we have the Elliott theory, 5 impulse waves to the upside overall. This really did start back in March of 2020, and we obviously did see the peak of wave 1 up here in June, before pulling down into this kind of sideways trade where we bottomed out in around September time last year. Here we can then go into a nice good run in the new year to the upside for ZIL, really peaking out up here towards our May time. We then went down in this correction, again in line with Bitcoin, pulling us down to these low areas of July. We then started to see a good recovery, but most recently Bitcoin has pulled us back down. This is where that 40% correction comes in. Is at this point, guys, I do want to highlight that a 40% correction in the space is actually quite a normal thing, specifically for ZIL. We can actually take a look that this area just over here, for example, on this third impulse wave to the upside, we dropped 49% in a similar amount of time. We then started to see a good rise to the upside, where we once again started to see a bit of a pullback here. This actual pullback came in at another 49%. Okay, and again, right at the top here, before we actually set the high area, although we did have a double tap, and this gain dropped down a 54% move before pushing right back up again. So when we talk about a 40% crash for ZIL, this is not uncommon, and we can see these even on our way to the upside as well as the way to the downside. So this is not unusual by any stretch of the imagination. Now, as we zoom in on Zilliqa here, we can actually just expand this up a bit. We can see in detail the 16 days of what's actually occurred. Now, we fell down, we bounced up, and we fell back down again, setting a new lower low on the previous low that was set. Here we can obviously take a look at our stochastic RSI and see that we are all the way down there at 0.08 on this daily chart. If we want to go down lower at this point, we first of all have to rise our stochastic RSI to the upside before we can actually go back down. This is something that we're talking about when we're all the way over here. You're so low and oversold, first of all, you have to push the price up in order for us to go back down even lower. And this is a similar area that we are in right now for Zilliqa. So in order for us to actually go back down, we first of all have to bounce to the upside. This is why we often see these bouncings occur, right? We see us pull down, we bounce up, we fall down, we bounce up, we fall down, right? Pretty standard, and it's a pretty common pattern that you see here because it allows us to go into the oversold area, push up, then go back into the oversold zone. Okay, so we know that we are setting these lower lows, and obviously we are incredibly oversold on the daily chart. So we are looking to push the price up on the daily overall in the longer term. So we know that we aren't really going to be pushing down any lower without first of all pushing up. Okay, so on this daily chart, we can see the 40% pull back, and again, we can see everything else that's going on here in terms of these lower lows, and our expectations are that we will be pushing up overall in the longer term. Again, this comes in line with our expectations when we take into consideration the high of wave 3, the low of wave 4. This current performance in terms of this pullback allows us to understand where we are likely to go in our 5th wave to the upside. This allows us to put the Fibonacci retracement on the high of 3 and the low of 4, and this then shows us that we should be moving up to about 92.5 cents. Now, I have put the 5th wave slightly higher than that 92.5 because I think there's a psychological barrier here of $1, and therefore I do think we are likely to overextend ever so briefly at $1, and then we pull down at the end of the bull run. Okay, so yes, I think the bull run is still intact. We are not in a bear market, and I do think we are likely to continue this run to the upside once we get past September and this volatility on the smaller time frames. Overall, the structure on the weekly chart is looking very good, and the daily here is also pretty nicely corrected, and we should be looking to have a nice good push back to the upside really soon. So when we actually jump this down into our hourly view, this is where we're able to take a look at some of the things that have been going on most recently. We can see that there was a triangular wedge that was forming nicely here for us, and this is allowing us to really get that break up here. Now, we're unable to actually go higher than this particular area, so we are still trending on our downward trend. We then saw Bitcoin pull us down even lower, completely invalidating our upward trend line as well. Now, on this journey, we can, of course, see that move from our high point to our low point here is 40% so far. But are we likely to go and pull back any lower? We can obviously see that some key things are going on right now in terms of our stochastic. We were oversold at this point down here, or at this point over here. We pushed up into the overbought area rapidly into this area, allowing us to pull down into this one. And not oversold or anything like that, but we did push back up from here, so lots of bullion buying back in, and we started to pull back as we now head into the oversold area. So now we will be looking to push back to the upside in line with our daily chart. Right now, this going into the oversold area, we have the ability to pull down a little bit lower, but if we continue this is then a change of pattern here where we actually are setting these higher lows rather than lower lows. Okay, so although we have this is a low area, this is a lower low area, this is now a higher low than this one, and if that were to continue, we should be on to the upside. So the expectations will be that we might just pull down a little bit lower. Maybe we come to the same area as this one just here, this wick, which would put us at about 8.3 cent, and then in doing so we'll be oversold where we can push up to the upside on our stochastic. In doing so, we can then push up on our price, allowing us to then set a new area and a new trend to the upside overall. We have got a lot of recovery on the road though, and in order to really truly understand what is going on here, we are going to now leverage the artificial intelligence of 𝗕𝗢𝗠𝗪. So 𝗕𝗢𝗠𝗪, there's a link in the description below. I do strongly recommend everyone doing some research on this one and signing up to the platform. It gives us some insight that we do not normally see inside the charts. They give us the approach, or the artificial intelligence gives us the approach of an unbiased data, and allows us to actually see that underlying value of a cryptocurrency and without obviously any human intervention. So for Zilliqa, we're just going to load up the charts, and we're going to understand, it's going to help us understand what's going on in the background here for ZIL. Okay, so we can see we have actually pulled back a rating today, which again is in line with some of the corrections that we've seen. We're a B3 rating overall for ZIL, and we can see the AMI-HAD ratio is an A2. Okay, so the AMI-HAD is your liquidity, so there's no problems with liquidity, so it's the second best rating. So there's nothing wrong with liquidity for Zilliqa, so that's always good to see. We can obviously see that the Zilliqa Fear and Greed Index is rating of D, right? So that is bad. It basically means that there's extreme fear in the market here for Zilliqa. So we have to take that into consideration and understand what is going on there for ZIL. Okay, so obviously there's a lot of fear, which could result in people wanting to sell their Zilliqa at a discounted rate. Okay, we can also see the moving averages have been affected, again rating of D, so the the moving averages haven't been exactly working for us, or are not in our favor right now. We can also see the Sharpe ratio is also affected here at C2. We can see that we've just come in contact with our 50-day average here, and so the Sharpe ratio is your risk reward, the risk to holding ZIL versus the reward of holding ZIL, and right now this is not in our favor at a C2 rating. We drop down a little bit lower. We can see the profitability is up at A1, so obviously incredibly profitable so far this year. So right now, there's the artificial intelligence and machine learning of 𝗕𝗢𝗠𝗪 is indicating some volatility here in terms of Zilliqa, and therefore actually holding this particular project might be more damaging to your portfolio than any good. With that being said, though, it's also important that we do obviously take a look at the charts in line with what this artificial intelligence is telling us, right? This update, so the artificial intelligence of 𝗕𝗢𝗠𝗪 updates once a day, and it's at midnight. So obviously, as I do this video, we're actually later into the day. The anticipation of what we've seen in the charts could actually see this thing move up in the ratings. So it's always better not to react later in the day to what you're seeing inside this artificial intelligence, but also see what this is reflecting at midnight every day when it updates. This allows us to get a good view of how that day is going to progress. When we actually take a look at the charts here, and we can see that there's a bit of a change in the sentiment over the course of the day. And when we actually take a look at the volume here, what we can see is as the price is pushing down, we can see that the volumes are pushing up, right? So more people are selling because they're scared, and therefore the price tumbles down. And what we look for here is as we push the price up, are we actually going to be increasing the volume to the upside? And actually, no, we dropped the volume down. We had a little bit of a bump in the volume just here, but overall, even on this decline area here, the sentiment has shifted and changed. We actually had the decrease in volume during this motion of the downside. So my gut feel is telling me that actually taking a look at this analysis and taking a look at the artificial intelligence, the sentiment is quite fearful. That was quite clear to see. So therefore, the artificial intelligence was right about what it was predicting was going to happen today. As we can take a look at everything that's been going on the 21st. Let me just get those candles up for you. So yeah, basically this here, Okay, this sentiment right here. So that's the fear that's been indicated from the artificial intelligence. And obviously, as the day has progressed, we can see that there's a little bit of a shift in that sentiment. Not massively, but I do anticipate that our fear and greed index will move up from a D, maybe to a C2 or a C3 rating. So it's not the best, but it's obviously showing that we are stabilizing down here. So if that continues and we obviously stabilize in a nice oversold area, we should get that push to the upside with static volume. That will allow us to steadily grow our way out of here. And if we can continue to set these higher lows, then that will allow us to continue a pretty good growth to the upside overall as well. It's not going to be quick. It's something that we are going to see for the rest of this month, a quite slow and steady kind of either decline to the downside, setting these lower areas, or we're going to just trade sideways whilst we ease out of September and go into October in a really strong way. Overall, anyone who caught my Bitcoin video earlier today will know that I'm incredibly bullish long term, and the month of September is usually quite volatile, historically speaking. So we are expecting a good push to the upside in October, and again, this will be in line with pretty much everything that's going on with Bitcoin as well. So overall, I think the short-term volatility isn't going to last long. There will be some opportunities to build some better positions. And of course, in this position here, you could, of course, trade if you wanted to, i.e. buy and sell the lows and the highs as needed. Obviously, I'm not a trader. I do dollar cost average better positions as I need to. And for Zilliqa, there are some opportunities in this particular area as well. But if we are ever in doubt, it's important that we zoom out, right? And we pay attention to what is going on with the longer term vision. Here we can obviously see that we are still talking about a 972% move from the current position that we are at to that 92-cent area. And we can see that we have performed incredibly well. We take a look at those low areas of where we were in March 2020 through to where we were up in here in the highs of May 2021. We've gained 11,334%. That is significantly, it's over double that of Ethereum. It's over, I don't know, nearly 10 times as much as Bitcoin, for example. So it's definitely outperformed many projects in the space. Not the best performer in our portfolio. I think that goes to something like Matic that's had 42,000%, for example. But good gains have been set here. And I think we are likely to continue to the upside as we finish this bull run nice and strong towards the end of the year, beginning of 2022. I'm going to leave this video there, guys. There's a lot going on with Zil. Obviously, I think we are potentially looking for setting some higher lows, but the recovery is going to be a slow and steady one. If you have found this video useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new, then why not subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.